Chapter 34. Tale of Viper to Barrier Specialist. Narrator. Known as the King of Concrete Jungle's jungle, be now our current setting, the city known never to sleep, is Fort Caelio be so. For a wife's tale spoke of this be so, that if one could not make it here, one could not make it anywhere. Its size being colossal and triple that of 4K Little Dippers and 4K Bigger Dippers combined, was the city that never sleeps. Fort Caelio be so. Before our company of hero warriors arrived to the be so, our tale tuned shift to tell that of Viper. At the tallest skyscraper of Leo's skyscraper canopies, Viper was confined to an imprisonment of a Soctic lightning lighted type of a barrier cubed, surrounding his very physical existence. Even with Viper bellowing his cries for help using his max volume screams, none came to his answer of plea, though an unknown voice did come to answer, whispering to him through his ear only to say this as follows. Viper, you now hear the voice of I, Azimuth Raging Lights 8. Reason only, for the barrier which confines you contains my aura. I now give you my Lights 8 barrier trials. You must find the answers and strength for yourself in order to free yourself upon freedom from your imprisonment to my set barrier. You will gain the title Viper Barrier Specialist. Why I tell you this? You wonder? It is because with that newfound power be the only thing that can release the barrier on your brother sniper's psyche, which be in an insane psychosis state. Lights 8 Trials. Narrator. After hearing his training to be named Lights 8 Trials, Viper is clueless on where to start, for no specific instructions were provided by Azimuth, with his only technique at his disposal being Pierce Like Me, which are lightning-based orified snakes which sprung birth and linked one from each arm. In functionality, once their fangs pierced their foe, surges of lightning invaded the body of the enemy, causing a shocking paralysis. So he uses this method on the barrier itself, but to no effect at first. No progress is being made, but that does not belittle his own individual will. To the point he could barely stand, not seeing the Lights 8 Trials to his defeat, he always got back on his feet. So 7 days and 7 nights passed in time till Viper could no longer endure his willful training of the Lights 8 Trials, which came with no instructions. Exhausted to the point he could not even speak to his own name, Viper then fell victim to a much-deserved sleep. Awakening 2 days later, Viper felt refreshed and ready instantly to challenge the Lights 8 barrier that encased him. Upon activating Pierce Like Me was an obvious, noticeable increase in ability, for now 2 linked lightning orified snakes protruded from each of his arms. Also, their sizes and electrified lightning being exerted was now drastically increased. Viper. Hell yeah. Seeing this progression, I think it's time I give Pierce Like Me a new friend. Technique ability creation. Cobra Shock-Dip. Cobra Shock-Dip stemmed from Viper's tailbone and then linked ran up his back, only for its cobra head and fangs to slither above his head. Its functionality was exactly like Pierce Like Me, which were in the shape of regular grass snakes. Cobra Shock-Dip took on the shape of being in its name, Cobra, like serpent fangs and head. So for another 7 days and 7 nights, Viper relentlessly strikes the inner walls of his cubed imprisonment barrier. Once again, his will never did waver. At the end of his week, what got the best of him was fatigue. So out like a bright, burnt light bulb, he fell flat on his back and slept for 2 days. He awoke refreshed once again, and upon Pierce Like Me and Cobra Shock-Dip's activation, he was astonished to see a total of 8 snakes to each of his techniques. Since he was getting nowhere just striking the cubed imprisonment's flat-surfaced inner walls, he critically strategizes and decides to Pierce Like Me and Cobra Shock-Dip the inside corners, which are 8 in all, with 2 grass snakes and 2 cobras to each corner. So in single targets, he thus injects 110% of his lightning aura onto these areas, giving all he has only in hopes of a result. with his will not wavering due fact that he recalls Asimov speaking of snipers in insane psychosis state, and the Lysate saying only he could bring his brother back into his right-minded sanity. Finally, the Lysate prison barrier which held him captive shatters. So, hence, the Lysate trials are complete, and thus is bred Viper Barrier Specialist.